أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم إن إبراهيم كان أمة قانتا لله حنيفا ولم يك من المشركين شاكرا لأنعمه اجتباه وهداه إلى صراط مستقيم وآتيناه في الدنيا حسنة وإنه في الآخرة لمن الصالحين ثم أوحينا إليك أن اتبع ملة إبراهيم حنيفا وما كان من المشركين إنما جعل السبت على الذين اختلفوا فيه وإن ربك ليحكم بينهم يوم القيامة فيما كانوا فيه يختلفون ادع إلى سبيل ربك بالحكمة والموعظة الحسنة وجادلهم بالتي هي أحسن إن ربك هو أعلم بمن ضل عن سبيله وهو أعلم بالمهتدين وإن عاقبتم فعاقبوا بمثل ما عوقبتم به ولئن صبرتم لهو خير للصابرين واصبر وما صبرك إلا بالله ولا تحزن عليهم ولا تك في ضيق مما يمكرون إن الله مع الذين اتقوا والذين هم محسنون بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وصل اللهم وسلم وبارك على نبينا وحبيبنا وقرة أعيننا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته everybody. In a recent book, American sociologist Jonathan Haidt, he said that the generation that we see today of young adults growing up in this 21st century, he calls them the snowflake generation. He said, we've never seen a generation before that is so weak, that victimizes themselves when things go wrong, that can't be disciplined to do absolutely anything. They are so distracted, such a low attention span, and are ready to collapse at any point in time. Talk to them about responsibility, they hide away. Talk to them about commitment, they run for the mountains. Talk to them about marriage, they look for a spade to dig themselves a grave. Why? It's a very unique generation. Today's session in the spiritual psychology of Ibn Qayyim from his book Madarij al-Salikin. Today I actually have the copy of the book with me. Usually I keep it at home. I don't like to look at notes or look at books when I'm teaching. But the reason I brought the book today was also to recommend which edition to buy. This book Madarij al-Salikin, the stations of the travelers to Allah, you can find it in 12 volumes, in 10 volumes, in 8 volumes, but buy the one that's in 1 volume, which is Dar ibn Hazm's print if you're looking in Arabic. Dar ibn Hazm's print in 1 volume. And in English, there's actually 2 translations of the book. One was very recently published by the Dawah Corner bookstore in Malaysia. You can find it translated, it's an abridgment in 1 slim volume. And then another one in 2 volumes by Dr. Uwaymir Anjum, a translation of the original. Now, onto our topic. There's 3 big challenges that we see in the world today that are solved by today's session, which is looking at the manzilatul sabr, the development of sabr. Before we jump into that, I'm going to ask you all a very tricky question. How will you define the word sabr in the Arabic language? Let's see what you guys have to say. How do you define sabr in the Arabic language? Patience. We got that one out the way. No one can say that again now, yeah? Okay, yes. Okay, being content with the decree of Allah, that's one form of it. not the whole picture. Anybody else? Sorry? Contentment? Sorry? Okay, go for it. At-tahammul, so tolerance. Yes? Sorry? Accepting? Yes, you had your hand up. To stay firm with anything that's happening. Okay. Anybody else? Okay, the first thing is the definition. Sabar is not patience. Let's get that one out the way. Any Quran translation you look at, anything, Hadith translation you look at, it's going to say Sabar is patience. It's not patience. Patience is one form of it, one angle of it, one manifestation, but it's not the whole picture. The best way I can explain Sabar is self-control. Is what? Self-control. What is Sabr? You guys are sleeping already. It's not even 9 o'clock. What is Sabr? Self-control. Okay, let me explain what is Sabr and why would I refer to it as self-control. In the Arabic language, they say as-sabru habsun nafs. Sabr is to be able to contain or confine or trap your ego or your desire from what it wants. And this can come in many forms. One of the forms is when something bad happens to you, rather than breaking down and tearing your hair out, you have to control your reaction and control your response, measure your response. That's one form of self-control. Another form of sabr, or another of the ways in which you can have sabr, is as-sabru ala al-ibadat. To be consistent with your acts of worship. So you came to oftentimes, for example, in Ramadan, you recited the entire Quran in Ramadan. Okay, great. Is the Quran only for Ramadan? No, absolutely not. Okay. What's stopping you from reciting the entire Quran cover to cover every month of the year? It's a lack of sabr. Call it discipline, call it persistence, call it whatever you want. Ultimately, you don't have the discipline to turn up every day and do the same thing again and again. You can call it persistence, discipline. This is a form of sabr. The ability to control your desire for laziness, for relaxation, for skipping the next salah, for skipping the thing you have to do. Procrastination, all of this is the antithesis, the opposite of sabr. Postponing something tomorrow, day after tomorrow, this is all against sabr. So discipline is one form of sabr. Being able to take, like I said, the decree of Allah when something bad happens and control your reaction, this is part of sabr. The third part of sabr that Ibn Qayyim talks about is as-sabru ala al-muharramat aw al-dhunub. The ability to say no to something that's tempting you, one of the sins that's tempting you. Right? So you're walking the street. Today I was actually driving in Longside. Al-iyadhu billah, I saw a very vulgar advertisement. Okay? Complete R-rated in the middle of the road. May Allah protect our kids and our eyes and your eyes. Now, somebody else driving with such a big billboard right in front, they might swerve and hit something. They can't control, they can't say no to themselves, their desire, the temptation. Temptation is like a raging beast, it's like a hunger for food. If it pulls you, it's a gnawing pain that echoes through your system. You can't say no to it. Yes, you all feel it when it's Ramadan and people are fasting, the first day of the fast. You touch somebody and he jumps. You say, "Oh, what happened? I'm fasting." Yeah, Habib, khalas. What's the problem? Okay, he's like his hormones are not in the right place. He's not mentally not in the right place. Why? I've not eaten food. The fact that he had to say no to something that this person had every single day is paining them. And this is the third type of patience. So to recap what I just said, there's three types of patience or three manifestations. The first is the discipline to keep doing good deeds again and again consistently. This requires discipline, persistence, to go, fight procrastination, all of these things. The second type of patience is being patient of sabr, being accepting and content when something really bad happens to you in life. Something unexpected happens, uncertainty. You need the self-restraint, the self-control to deal with it, to control your response. And the third form of self-control is being able to say no to something that's really tempting you. You want it, you desire it, you wish you could have it, but you still say no. These are the three forms of patience that Ibn Qayyim mentions in Madarij as-Salikin. Now, there's also three big problems in the world today that only sabr can solve. No self-development book, not 7 Habits, not Atomic Habits, not Patience, not Discipline is the Way. None of these books can solve these problems because you need sabr, which has a spiritual root. What are the 3 problems? The first problem is emotional fragility. People today, they're so weak. The smallest thing that happens to them, finish. I'm a victim, I'm traumatized, the world is terrible. It's all about feelings. If I feel it, the feeling is real. There's isolation. So this is the first thing. It's a big challenge in the world we live in today. People are unable to take difficulty. Oftentimes you'll hear people from previous generations saying, son, get up, go open the door. No, I don't feel like it. We don't feel like it. In our time, when my father told me to travel to China, I would walk to China. Okay, we get it. What is the point? The point is that previous generations, they were willing to do a lot, put up with a lot more difficulty. But the generation we're seeing now is a very fragile generation. They cannot take anything without just collapsing. The second one is the destruction of discipline. Because of the level of distraction in the world, because of TikTok, because of social media, because of mobile devices, because of everything can be delivered to your door and Uber can come to your door and everything is convenient and easy, people have lost the ability to work hard for something. People have lost the idea, in order for me to achieve something, I have to do it every day for 6,000 days, 5,000 days in a row. That kind of discipline is something we don't see anymore. You want to see it, you have to go to Mauritania or Somalia. You have to go to another, where you see people waking up at Fajr every day, memorizing the Quran, day in, day out, day in, day out. Consistency in the UK, like if you see somebody at Fajr 4 days in a row, you can hold a celebration for them. It's an amazing feat. It's not something that's very commonly seen, right? Why is it that this is such a big problem today? Because of instant gratification. What is instant gratification? It is, I know when I open my eyes in the morning, if I pull out my smartphone, immediately the chemicals in my body will get really excited, watch a few videos. I immediately reward myself. But to pull off the blanket, the duvet, and go and do wudu, and in the cold, go to the masjid, the reward is later. Whereas me enjoying something now, the reward is right now. And we live in a generation where people are obsessed with feeling the reward now, and they cannot wait for the reward that is to come later. The third problem, so I said the first problem is fragility, emotional fragility. People are not able to keep control of their emotions. The second one is the lack of discipline, the destruction of discipline, distraction, social media, low attention spans, loss of discipline. The third one is victimization to trauma. These days when something bad happens to somebody, they are told, this is trauma. Trauma literally means something blunt has hit you. A physical object has smashed you in the face. This is what trauma literally means. And immediately they are told you are a victim, you are, traumatized, you are going to have all these disorders, you're in a terrible situation, you need medication, you need therapy. And you're given this message like you are the most miskeen victim on the planet, and there's no other way to see what has happened to you. What has this led to? This has led to people being over-dependent on medication, over-dependent on therapy, over-dependent on these ideas, and they never think to themselves, I can get myself out of this if only I did X, Y, Z. They are constantly in this loop of victimizing themselves. Now, what is the way out of this? The first and most important part of building sabr. So now we talked, what is the definition of sabr? Everybody still with me. What is the definition of sabr? Self-control. 3 forms of sabr. Who can tell me? What's the 3 forms of sabr? Discipline. Okay, so sabr, to continue doing something good consistently. Second one? Dealing with difficulties, controlling your response. How do I respond to something bad? Third one? Saying no to something that's tempting you. Okay, side point before we continue. Of these 3 forms, which is the greatest form? Now, I'm going to tell you where I'm going to get the answer from. In the story of Yusuf alayhi salam has sabr with all these 3 types. So he has to keep being God conscious and keep doing good, whether he's in the prison or the well or the palace. So he's consistent and disciplined with his good deeds. He's tempted by the woman in the palace and he says no to her. And he's thrown into horrible situations, and his reaction is he is patient with these situations. He shows all three forms. Okay. Now here's the question: which is the greatest form of patience? All the things that I want you to give me example from the life of Yusuf alayhi salam. Was it how he responded in the well? Was it the forgiveness of his brothers? Was it the way he said no to the woman in the palace? Was it the way he helped the men in the prison? Which incident in his life is the greatest form of sabr? Yalla, think. Sorry? Saying no to the woman, why? Okay, you're saying there's 7 people under the shade of Allah. One of them is someone who was tempted by a woman and said no. Okay. What else? Yes? No, Sheikh, that's cheating. You can't say all of them mixed together. All of the above. That wasn't one of the options. Okay, khalas, go for it. Allah, you're a dangerous guy. Allah. Okay, you're saying that it's a combination of all of these forms of patience. Are you saying that when he said no to the woman, he combined multiple forms of patience? Okay, that's a very interesting point. This brother is saying that when he said no to the woman, he has to be consistent on good deeds. He has to say no to temptation, and he has to be patient with the bala, the test that she's giving him. So it kind of combined all three. Any other answers? Yes? At the end when he forgave his brothers. Why? Because they were the one who harmed him and his response to harm. Anybody else? Last one.
Yeah, similar point that he was betrayed from the brothers, but he still...
Okay, you think it's when he was betrayed from the brothers, and despite the betrayal, he was firm. Okay. In Madarij al-Salikin, the position Ibn Qayyim takes, he says, Qala Shaykh al-Islam. My teacher, Shaykh al-Islam Ibn Taymiyyah said, the greatest form of patience in all the incidents that Yusuf alayhi salam went through was when he said no to the temptation of the woman. Why? Here's why. All the other situations in his life, was it in his control or not in his control? Did he choose to be in the well? Did he choose to be far from his parents? Did he choose to be thrown in prison? He didn't choose these things. Now, if you didn't choose it, you're kind of forced to accept it regardless of the situation. What are you going to do? Where are you going to go? Aslan. Right? So the patience that the sabr that you have to show when you are forced into a corner is a lesser form of sabr. Now, when he's in front of this woman and he's young and she's beautiful and she's wealthy and she's imposing herself on him and she's offering herself to him. Now, does he have a choice or is he forced to accept the situation? He has a choice. He can accept it, right? And still he said no. That is why he said this is the greatest form of sabr. Is that you have the option. You have the option to indulge, but still you resist the indulgence. Now, this is just a side point. What is the greatest form of sabr? And it's very relevant to the world that we live in today. We live in a very hypersexualized world. Everything from cartoon characters to advertisements on TV to movies, everywhere you look, there's a level of nudity and exposure and shamelessness that has not been, it's not precedented in the human race for it to ever be like that. You look at, if you go to Manchester Museum in the center, Manchester Science Museum, go look at the cotton mills. The women who were working in the cotton mills in Manchester 100 years ago, what were they wearing? They were wearing hijabs. It's in the city that we're sitting in. Women were wearing hijabs 100, 150 years ago. Very normal part of Victorian culture. Now, the world we live in, the level of, indecency, visual indecency, or mobile devices, everywhere you look is something we've never seen before. So, the ability to say no to something that is tempting is one of the greatest forms of sabr. Very important to keep this in mind. Now, how do you build sabr? Let us talk about this now. The first thing, the verses I recited in the beginning. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Surah Al-Nahl, at the end of Surah Al-Nahl, وَاصْبِرْ وَمَا صَبْرُكَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. Have sabr, O Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You will not have sabr unless it is through Allah. What does that mean? Sabr, what does it mean to have sabr through Allah? To answer this question, how to build sabr, I'm going to take you to a famous experiment. It's called the marshmallow experiment. A group of scientists took a number of children, they sat them on a chair, and they gave them a bowl of marshmallows. You guys know what marshmallows are? Yes, halawa. Very delicious. Okay? I don't know if they were halal or not, but anyway, besides the point. A bunch of children, let's say 50 children, they put each of them in a room with a bowl of marshmallows. And they said, don't eat the marshmallows until I come back. Right? And the woman leaves the room. She leaves the room, the timer begins. Tick, 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 tick. And you can see it on YouTube, there's a video. The children looking at the marshmallows, some of them are touching it, some of them are putting it just on their tongue. They're trying not to eat it. They attempted by trying not to eat it, trying to resist the urge. Okay? One group of them, eventually, after 3, 4, 5, 6, 10, 15, they just ate the marshmallow. Yeah. Another group of them were able to resist until the person came back. Now, the scientists followed this group of children for the next 30 years of their life. They continued to monitor them. The children who were able to be persistent and have sabr and say no to the marshmallow until the woman came back, they reported better exam scores, better emotional regulation, better physical health, better relationships. They lasted longer in marriages. Why? What is the secret? It is sabr. Why did the child wait until the end? When the mother left the room, or the woman left the room who's performing the experiment, she said, if you wait until the end, I'll give you the marshmallow and I'll give you another chocolate. So what's here? What's this called? This is a reward or an incentive. Now, the children who ate the marshmallow straight away, they couldn't wait for the extra reward. They wanted the marshmallow here and it's right here. Why should I wait for extra chocolates? I can taste it now. Why should I wait? The person who has sabr is a person who is willing to wait and be patient until the reward of Allah comes. And they're able to prioritize this over whatever pleasure, temporary pleasure they're going to get right now. And so, the secret to developing sabr, really, the secret to developing sabr is forming an attachment to what is with Allah and what He's going to give you and what He has in store for you. If you don't have this deeply embedded in your heart, forget discipline, forget sabr, forget patience, forget contentment. It's never going to come. Read as many books, as many habits, build as many systems, automate what you want. If you are not looking forward to what Allah has in store for you from the beauties of paradise, and you're not fearing the consequences of the fire, and you are not excited for the company of Allah Azza wa Jal, there is no way for you to go through this life and have sabr throughout. It's not possible. And therefore, when you look at sabr in the Quran and how Allah describes the people who have sabr, Allah says, وَجَزَاهُمْ بِمَا صَبَرُوا جَنَّةً وَحَرِيرًا. Because they waited, my reward is that they will get gardens and they will get silk. When the Prophet ﷺ comes across his companions, particularly in the Battle of Hunain. Now, in the Battle of Hunain, it's at the end of the Prophet's life, just towards the end. And after the conquest of Mecca, it's a battle, it's an ambush. The battle is over and the Prophet ﷺ is dividing the spoils of war. Okay? Now, the Ansar, the people of Medina, are expecting a big payout because they've waited 10, 12, 13 years, supported the Prophet, unconditional support. Maybe today we'll get the payout? No, he's given all of the spoils of war, all the camels and the money, he's given it all to his Meccan friends, his old friends. So the Medinans, the Ansar, start to get furious, irritated, upset. How can you give everything we just earned from this war? You're going to give all of the ROI, return on investment. You're going to give it to these Meccans? They just converted to Islam. These disbelievers who fought us, attacked us. Anyway, they're starting to get impatient. The Prophet ﷺ lines them up and he says to them, aren't you happy? Let these people go with their cows and sheep and their money, and you go home with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. You will see after my death many difficulties. فَاصْبِرُوا حَتَّى تَلْقَوْنِي عَلَى الْحَوْضِ. Wait, have sabr, because if you can get through these difficulties, you will meet me at the hawd. How does he motivate them to have sabr through this life? He says, if you have sabr, you'll meet me. If you don't have sabr, you're not going to meet me. You want to meet me? You want to be with the Prophet ﷺ. You want to see his beautiful face. You want to see his soft hands. You want to see the way he walking down on an incline. You want to see his glittering smile. You want to see his gentleness to children. You want to see his respect to the elders. You want to see his mercy that enveloped the world. You want to see it? No problem. You have to wait. You can't get the marshmallow straight away. You have to wait until what is in store for you. The root cause of people losing patience, losing discipline, and being distracted, fundamentally, it's just one thing. They do not want and desire what is with Allah hard enough. Simple as that. Simple as that. The people who have the most certainty that what Allah has in store for them is something they have never imagined, and they are 100% certain it's coming, when they are presented with some temporary temptation, a van drives by, somebody sticks a stick of weed from the window. Would you like to try some? They're at work, they're at school, they're on social media. Somebody they're fancying DMs them. Somebody offers them a quick, get-rich-quick scheme. Crypto, Dogecoin, some weird, dodgy money-making scheme. When they are given a temptation, they think immediately, is this worth losing what is with Allah? Is this worth losing my paradise? Is this worth losing, what will I say when I stand in front of Allah? And immediately it all disappears. It evaporates immediately in front of their eyes. When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about as-sabirin in the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala famously says, وَاسْتَعِينُوا بِالصَّبْرِ وَالصَّلَاةِ وَإِنَّهَا لَكَبِيرَةٌ إِلَّا عَلَى الْخَاشِعِينَ. Have sabr. Look, ask Allah's help through sabr and salah, and you will find sabr and salah very difficult, except for whom? People who have khushu'. Okay, who's that? الَّذِينَ يَظُنُّونَ أَنَّهُمْ مُلَاقُو رَبِّهِمْ وَأَنَّهُمْ إِلَيْهِ رَاجِعُونَ. If you want to have sabr, you need to be somebody who is certain that you're going to meet Allah and you're going to come back to Him. Watch how you say no to the next marshmallow, the next temptation, the next time Fajr is difficult. It's remembering and recalling, what am I going to lose out or what am I going to gain after I pass away? The strength of your certainty will determine the strength of your sabr. Your ability to take a difficult marriage, your ability to take a difficult financial situation, your ability to sit and memorize Quran, memorize hadith, sit in the same spot every day, day after day, day after day, day after day. What's going to push you? Watching a David Goggins video of him running or doing 1,000 pull-ups? No, absolutely not. What's going to push you is only one thing. It's remembering what will happen when I meet Allah. And the more frequently you remember this, you will find that sabr comes very naturally to you. You don't need a coach, a special book, Tony Robbins course, walk on. No nonsense like this. You need to be deeply certain about what Allah has in store for you. This is the secret to sabr. And the Quran is filled with examples of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reminding the believers that if you have this yaqeen, this certainty in the afterlife, I will gift you sabr free. Here you go. وَجَعَلْنَاهُمْ أَئِمَّةً يَهْدُونَ بِأَمْرِنَا لَمَّا صَبَرُوا وَكَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا يُوقِنُونَ. Allah says, I made them leaders when they had sabr. So one of the important points is, you can never possess any form of leadership unless you have sabr as a core quality. How did they reach sabr? What's the secret? وَكَانُوا بِآيَاتِنَا يُوقِنُونَ. They were 100% certain in all of my ayat. Everything I told them, they know it's going to happen. So they live as though they can see the day of judgment before their eyes. And so their whole life is very different to your life and my life. Now, how do you develop sabr? Step 1, uninstall TikTok. Step 2, uninstall Instagram. Step 3, uninstall Facebook. Anything else, brothers? Step 4, uninstall Snapchat. Deactivate all of your accounts for 40 days. Don't say, Ustadh Hisham, bid'ah, he said this. Okay, 39 days, adi. 5 days, You choose a day, Habibi. Pick it out of a, or they will say that's also a problem. Right, pick a number from thin air, no problem. But you first step, get rid of all your social media accounts. Wallahi, nothing will happen in your life. Your life will continue. I could say uninstall WhatsApp, but then there will be slippers and sandals being thrown at me. So I know where the red line is. We will not say anything about WhatsApp, but you can uninstall Telegram, inshallah, no problem. First step, you have to get rid of everything that you know is breaking your attention span. Step 2, if you have an iPhone, in your settings, there's something called focus time, where you can remove your access to all of your apps except for 30 minutes a day, 15 minutes a day. Set up focus time. Certain hours a day, I can't access my phone. I can't access these apps. I can call, I can text, but I can't access my other apps. I can access these apps only for a certain limit, 15 minutes, 30 minutes, 1 hour, no problem. Build some discipline into the device that you know and I know, that we are on average spending 6 hours a day on this device. This is the first thing. Step 1. Step 2, look for a program or an environment that will build sabr into your system. The Prophet ﷺ said, وَمَنْ يَتَصَبَّرْ يُصْبِرُهُ اللَّهُ. Whoever tries to have sabr, Allah will give it to them. Okay. How is this? This is the idea for you guys. Anybody wants to make this idea? بِإِذْنِ اللَّهِ لَكَ الْجَنَّةِ. The Prophet ﷺ said, when he saw Ammar ibn Yasir being tortured in the early days of Mecca, he said, صَبْرًا آلَ يَاسِرَ فَإِنَّ مَوْعِدَكُمُ الْجَنَّةِ. Just to my previous point, have sabr, family of Yasir, the first martyrs in the cause of Allah. Because if you have sabr through this, I promise you paradise. If you can't look forward to that, forget about sabr. Now, what is the idea? Salahuddin al-Ayyubi, may Allah have mercy on him. One of the brilliant strategies of Salahuddin al-Ayyubi is that in the Ayyubid dynasty, he set up almost 500 physical buildings, physical premises, which was called the Zawiyah. What is the Zawiyah? It was a mixture of a place where you could learn military skills as well as worship. So let's say you signed up to the Zawiyah today. MashaAllah, Ahmed, you signed up to? Okay, good. Tomorrow, 4 a.m., everybody has to be downstairs. Why? 4 a.m., tahajjud. Anybody missing? You're out. Tahajjud. Then Fajr. Then Adhkar. Then after that, military drills begin. Push-ups, pull-ups, I don't know what they used to do, yeah? Sword craft, archery, continues, 11 o'clock, okay, everybody, qaylula. A regimented plan, a system. If you sign up to this place in 6 months, a year, 3 years, it's not possible for you to come out except you have built sabr into your system by force, by external environment. Now, in the UK, we don't have these kind of environments. The closest thing I can think of is Muslim Scouts, where they take children into nature and they try and teach them these skills. But it's something that somebody has to build. Either a boarding school or an environment where young people or old people or middle, anybody can come and sign up. But the idea is for 24 hours, for 3 days, for 1 week, for the length of this program, you have to adhere to this schedule. And when you enter the door, we're going to take your smartphone and give you a Nokia. 1 week, 10 days, 30 days, however long, until you build the skill, ability to have sabr, we're going to keep you here. This is something that Salahuddin al-Ayyubi invested in. He invested in hundreds and hundreds of them throughout his empire to build a generation of young people that were militarily strong, and at the same time, they had the discipline in worship. Another important practical point, especially for young men, but men, women both, but especially for young men, is the importance of martial arts. The importance of martial arts. I think I was probably 5 years old. My mother first enrolled me in martial arts, and I continued for a very long time. Unfortunately, it's been a few years for me. But something I highly recommend for young men, especially for young, but for all people, is to learn and master one of the martial arts. Why? It teaches you discipline, it teaches you respect, and it teaches you physical strength. These are very, very key. And once you get into that habit, and once you get into that discipline of training, of reporting to your teacher, of coming on time, etc., it's something that you can never let go of. A third option is signing up to memorize the Quran at Masjid Alfurqan on Mondays and Wednesdays? Mondays and Wednesdays, what time? 8:15 p.m. Mondays and Wednesdays. Is one of the experiences in your life that it's not possible for you to start except that you will either build sabr or you will realize you have the attention span of a goldfish. One of two things will happen. Is memorization of the Quran. Many people give themselves excuses. I'm too old, my memory is weak, I can't do this, I can't do that, I don't know where to start, I'm not good enough. 2 days ago or 3 days ago, I was sitting here in the front row waiting for Salah. And there was an uncle sitting in front of me, and he was reading Bulughul Maram, hadith number 672. And he's reading the same hadith again and again and again and again loudly. Thinking, what's the uncle doing? I said, uncle, what are you doing? He said, I'm trying to memorize. Uncle, what? He said, I'm 78 years old, but I'm not dead yet. This book, Bulughul Maram, has over 1,000 hadith. I'm going to memorize it. I said, uncle, 78 years old. You're memorizing Bulughul Maram. And my man who's 17 years old is playing Fortnite and Roblox. Yeah, and watching Netflix. Yeah. It can be done. What do you need? You need the himmah. You need the desire. I want to achieve this. Anybody here can memorize the Quran. Anybody. What does it require? It requires sabr. You sign up to a program, to a course. You pay for a teacher. One thing I never recommend is to do hifth, memorization of the Quran on your own. You need a partner, you need a teacher, you need a program. It builds accountability. Someone is there who's going to ask you, where's your memorization? And over 1 day, 2 day, 3 day, 4. The tricky thing about memorizing the Quran is that once you've memorized it, the discipline never stops. You have to revise it every day. So it builds discipline into your life. It builds discipline into your life. You cannot go a day without your revision. Otherwise you start to forget. So one of the greatest hacks, if you're not going to build a zawiyah, a special military school, you're not going to join martial arts, you're not going to do X, Y, is start the journey of memorizing the Quran, you and your family, and watch how you see sabr, it gets installed into your system and your family system by nature of you staying persistent with this deed. At the end of Surah Ali Imran, at the end of Surah Ali Imran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا اصبروا وصابروا ورابطوا واتقوا الله لعلكم تفلحون. O believers, have sabr in yourself, have sabr mutually together, sabiru, warabitu, and fight and fear, be conscious of Allah so that you may be successful. One of the most important parts of developing sabr is having accountability. Having somebody hold you to account. Very simple thing. Let's say you don't have the sabr to pray fajr, or you don't have the sabr to pray fajr in the masjid. Very simple. Ask a friend to call you every day at fajr time. Someone you know has already mastered it. Ask somebody else to hold you to account. Or tell somebody you respect, a teacher, a senior to you, I'll meet you at the masjid at 6 a.m. Now the whole night you're worried, I don't want to miss my alarm. I cannot snooze. Why? If I don't fear Allah, at least I'm worried about this person who's waiting for me in the masjid. I don't want to embarrass myself. So see how you can create systems of accountability to help you build your sabr. Anybody who tries abandoning social media for a period of time will find that there's somehow 5 extra hours in the day than they imagined before. You know, when you enter an aeroplane, you see everybody glazed looking at screens, watching movie. They wait the whole year to come on a flight so they can watch all the latest movies. 1, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th. Yeah. I know people, from them, Ustadh Jamal Abdel Nasser, who frequently teaches in this masjid, my beloved brother and my good friend, may Allah bless him and protect him, who has done a khatma of the entire Quran on a flight. Him and Sheikh Abdul Rashid al-Sufi. Sitting in the aeroplane, while everybody else is catching up on the last 8 seasons of what they missed, they've done a khatma of the entire Quran. What does it take? It takes the desire for that which is waiting for you in the afterlife. Let me talk a little bit about saying no to temptation. You guys tell me, why is it so difficult to say no to temptations in today's day and age? Why is it so difficult to say no? Why so many people fallen into it? Yes. It's everywhere. It's a level of frequency that it's unprecedented in the human race. It's so desirable and nobody can be patient to wait all the way to the hereafter. Ah. It's become normalized. It's normal, adi. It's nothing special. Yes? Yeah. He's saying social media gives you these quick hits of dopamine. It makes you excited, happy every time you check it. You need more and you need more and you need more. It's never enough until you get to the situation where you need something much worse. There's one very important thing about sabr. Just as sabr is built gradually through the right environment, the right teachers, through good accountability, through desiring the afterlife and reminding and remembering and reflecting and being certain in what Allah has promised you, just as sabr is developed gradually in this way, you can lose it gradually as well, slowly and surely. One of the most important points in terms of being able to say no to what tempts you is having a way to constantly remember and remind yourself of the fear of Allah and His consequences. وَلِمَنْ خَافَ مَقَامَ رَبِّهِ جَنَّتَانِ. Whoever fears their Lord's punishment will have two gardens. When Allah talks about the fire, the hellfire in the Quran, and when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the punishment that He has promised the people of the fire, إِنَّ شَجَرَةَ الزَّقُّومِ طَعَامُ الْأَثِيمِ. In the fire there is a tree called zaqqum. This is the food of those who are in the fire. كَالْمُهْلِ يَغْلِي فِي الْبُطُونِ. People will eat from it and their stomach, the intestines will come out due to the pain and the spikes on this tree and the pus and the blood and the heat of the fire. كَغَلِّي الْحَمِيمِ خُذُوهُ فَاعْتِلُوهُ إِلَى سَوَاءِ الْجَحِيمِ. Allah reminds us of these visions. He wants you to graphically envisage what is waiting for the people of the fire, because this is the only way for you to look at something delicious and say, no, it's not worth it for me because of what Allah has prepared for me. The other thing Ibn Qayyim mentions is having haya, having a bit of shame in front of Allah. And I've talked about this before. Remembering the blessings Allah has given you to remind you, how can I indulge in this? How can I get involved in something like this? One of the most influential parts of saying no to something tempting is having and keeping close with good company. I often say, if you're going to be on your own and being on your own is bad for you, it's better you are with somebody else. Oftentimes today, we don't have the routine of being around good company. Good company takes effort. Many people think having good friends is automatic. Yes, maybe in primary school. But after a certain age, you have to make an effort to see people, to visit them, to call them up, to check on them, to gift them, to go out with them. You have to develop these relationships. If you don't develop the relationships, the good company, it's very, very likely you will lose them, and you'll lose one of the greatest forms of sabr, which is al-musabara, having good companionship. When we look at the masjid Alfurqan, this masjid that we are part of here today, there are a group of people who come here for jama'ah, for congregational prayer multiple times a day, and over the months and years they became friends. They got to know each other. These are the Ahlul Masjid. These people, I'm familiar faces. Maybe they visit each other. Maybe one day they say, you know what, why don't we become Quran revision partners? Why don't we become memorization partners? Why don't we embark on this journey together? They have common goals, they go on together. This is something very important. If you want to develop sabr, don't leave yourself to yourself. Find a companion where you can go on the journey of developing sabr together. There's a lot to say about sabr, and there's very little time. Salatul Isha. Salatul Isha is in, Sah Shaykhna? Salatul Isha is in. So, inshallah, with that, we will call it a day. To summarize everything I've mentioned: procrastination, distraction, temptation, emotional fragility, lack of willpower, lack of strength. All of these is describing a world where sabr is completely lacking. How does a person develop sabr? What I've focused on so far, there's 3 forms of sabr I've said. One is discipline to continue good deeds. The other one is the ability, willpower to say no to temptations. And the third one is contentment with the decree of Allah. I didn't talk about contentment too much because we spoke about it in detail last session. But What are the ways in which you can develop sabr? Maybe you guys can remind me, what did I say? And we can close the lesson, inshallah. Who can remember? What are the practical ways to build sabr? Self-control, but that's the definition of sabr. How do you build it? Number one, deactivate social media, at least for a month. Give it a go. You will never regret it, trust me. Okay, what next? Yes. Having accountability. Having somebody, a friend, a partner, a program, a teacher, somebody who will hold you accountable for something every day, every week, every month. Yes. Embark on the journey of memorizing the Quran. Trust me, you will never regret it. And you will prove to yourself that you have sabr. It will force you to develop sabr. Yes, what else? Good company. What else? Remember the punishment of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. What else? Train martial arts, absolutely. Master, become a master. Don't just become a novice. Yes, what else? Having haya, remembering the favors Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given you. What else? Sorry? If you can't be alone, don't be alone. If being alone is going to be bad for you, just be here in the masjid. Come here. Most of the time it's open. This environment is much better for you than being alone at home in your bedroom on the phone. Trust me. Yes, this is the number one way to develop sabr. وَاصْبِرْ وَمَا صَبْرُكَ إِلَّا بِاللَّهِ. You will never have sabr until your love for what Allah has in store for you and your certainty in the afterlife and in His rewards is far greater than your love for a temporary pleasure in this world. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم بارك الله فيكم. سؤال? Sorry, somebody has a question. Sorry, brother. سؤال معقد. أين شيخنا؟ وين راح؟ شيخنا. Okay. You going to answer شيخنا? This is your specialism. Okay. Okay, his question is part of sabr being patient with a very difficult spouse who's very argumentative, very stubborn, has a short temper, makes life difficult, makes you want to finish the marriage as soon as possible. And he mentions examples in the Quran of Nuh, of Lut, who were patient with very difficult wives, or wives who were disbelievers for long periods of time. Is this part of sabr, or is this not called for and unneeded? Okay, my answer is as follows. There is absolutely no doubt that there is a significant level of sabr required in marriage. You want to learn sabr, get married. Wallah, you learn the hard way. Ask uncle if you want. Yeah, go ask auntie. 20 years, he'll let you know. Honestly, yes. Many of you know I got married at a young age, and I mention it sometimes just to inspire young people that, look, if you get married, you'll forcibly develop sabr. Now, it's 100% certainty that you require a degree of sabr in order to be patient with your spouse, husband or wife. There is a level of different person, different culture, different world, different life, their own flaws, their own mistakes. You have to have some level of sabr to accept their harm and to still consistently be good to them. Okay. There is a level of harm at which sabr becomes something negative. There's a level of harm at which Allah gives you the license to end the marriage, dissolve the marriage. Right? As we know, talaq or fasakh or various forms of khula'. If there is physical harm, if there's significant abuse in the marriage, and if there is incompatibility between the spouses and various other reasons, there's enough justification. The Sharia has created this exit. It's an emergency exit. Now, you wouldn't exit from the emergency exit every day. But in case of emergency, you can exit. However, in order to make sure people don't use the divorce license very easily and simply whenever they feel down, Allah created a system of mediation. Okay, if you have an issue with your spouse, first, remind them. Then after that, don't sleep in the same bed as them. Then third, after that, mediation. Bring two people somebody from both families. A neutral third party. Third party. To try and help both spouses reconcile. Try to reconcile once, twice, 3 times, 4, 5, 6, as many times as you possibly can. When you reach a point where the differences are not reconcilable, you've been through as much sulh and you've attempted mediations and you've involved the local imam and the family council. You've tried everything and it's not working. There's a point in time when it may be untenable, it might be unviable for the marriage to continue, and you may have to consider a form of divorce. Now, Nuh alayhi salam was patient with his wife who was disbelieving. Lut alayhi salam who was patient with his wife who was disbelieving. Does this mean that we should also be patient for decades and decades, and there is no point at which time you can crack, at which time you can take the emergency exit? No, Allah, in our Sharia, Allah has created the emergency exit for a reason. However, one of the things the Prophet ﷺ taught us, you can say 80% of marriage is about sabr. It's about overlooking the faults and getting through the hard times and getting through the dips and the ups and downs and hoping that there is a steady state later on. Try and try again and keep trying. But there is a point, you will need expert guidance from a sheikh or a scholar or somebody known who understands the Sharia to tell you, listen Habibi, that's it, there's no hope now. Don't try to make that ijtihad on your own. Always try to consult somebody so that you don't end the marriage prematurely. I know people who got married today and today they give the first talaq. Why? I told my wife, if you don't reach home by a certain time, anti mutallaqa. And she didn't reach home. Oh, 0. Don't be like, 2 extremes.
If something happens like problem, stress, I go outside, I stand outside.
MashaAllah. There's actually, جزاكم الله خيرا. جزاكم الله خيرا. بارك الله فيكم. We'll start الصلاة إن شاء الله. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.